Hi, this video will detail some amazing projects in the Terra ecosystem for the 2022 year. I'll go over briefly what makes up a thriving DeFi ecosystem and how Terra has been making strides towards that direction. I'll also talk about some upcoming projects to keep an eye on and how they'll add value to the Terra network. If you haven't already, please check out the 3 other videos in this series on the Terra network to help gain some context. Let's get started by first talking about what components exist in a financial ecosystem. To really drive Luna and Terra stablecoin adoption, practical and useful applications need to be built for a financial ecosystem. The system components in which these apps are built include savings. This is where people can deposit stablecoins and earn a safe and relatively consistent yield. Insurance. This is for protecting people's investments. Borrowing and lending. This is where people can lend tokens and borrow tokens. Automated market makers and DEXs. These are platforms where people can provide liquidity in return for yield, aka farming, and also where people can swap tokens. Arbitrage. This component is not usually talked about, but it's crucial in keeping markets efficient. And finally, yield optimization. These include platforms that automate farming and earning so that people don't have to do it manually. There are existing projects on Terra that serve these areas and some very exciting projects that are coming down the pipeline in 2022 as well. Let's go through them one by one. Disclaimer, this isn't financial advice and I'm not advocating investing in these projects. These are just my opinions and you should always do your own research. For savings in DeFi, there is no better place on the Terra network than Anchor protocol. I'm not going to go into depth into Anchor since it's been talked about a lot already all over YouTube, but users can get almost 20% consistent APY return on their UST when depositing onto Anchor, which is pretty amazing. The 20% return to depositors are funded by UST borrowers that provide interest-bearing, staked assets to the protocol. In addition to the funds generated by the staking assets, Anchor also charges UST borrowers an interest rate on top of that. These two things sum up to pay the depositors. Currently, there's a proposal on Anchor to update its borrow model. This would simplify how collateral is used and allow more collateral to be used to borrow UST compared to just BLuna and BETH as it currently stands. This will bring more revenue to the Anchor protocol and results in a more healthy system and enables sustained payout to UST depositors. I'll leave a link to the proposal in the description below. Generally, there are many upgrades coming to Anchor, and the community is lively and ready to tackle problems that arise. Problems in DeFi are plenty, and people want to mitigate risk. For risk mitigation on Anchor, there's a relatively new service by Risk Harbor called Ozone. It's basically an insurance provider for depositors' funds on Anchor. So if I deposit 1100 UST on Anchor, which converts to about 1000 AUST, and I'm afraid of UST systematic risks or any smart contract risk, I can insure my 1000 AUST by paying a percentage of my deposit as a premium for insurance. Basically, I first deposit on Anchor and receive back my AUST receipt. Then I go to Ozone, deposit my AUST, and the insurance premium will be deducted from my Anchor earnings. If I need to make a claim, Ozone will reimburse me in UST up to the amount of the deposit. This service has a lot of demand, and currently they are maxed out, meaning new users aren't able to insure their Anchor deposits until further notice. Keep in mind though, this insurance does not yet protect against UST depegging since the payout for filing a claim is in UST. Let's talk about borrowing and lending next. So on other chains, there are platforms like Aave and Compound that allow people to lend their tokens for a return, and also people to borrow tokens with and without collateral. Currently, there isn't anything like this on the Terra network, but there is a highly anticipated project that will fill this need. This is the Mars protocol. Mars aims to attract deposits and lend out this money while managing all the risks that come with being a bank on DeFi. There are a few innovations in the Mars protocol that improve on the shortcomings of traditional borrowing lending protocols, but the one they emphasize is the ability to calculate the borrower's interest rate based on a strategy used in controls theory. This sounds very fancy, but what it all boils down to is that the protocol will be able to algorithmically change the borrower's interest rate to make borrowing and lending as efficient as possible. To expand on this, the protocol wants a certain utilization rate, which is the ratio of total borrowed value to lent value. For example, if depositors have lent out 1 million UST and borrowers have borrowed a total of 500,000 UST, the utilization rate is 50%. Mars protocol will have a target utilization rate that they think will generate the most revenue and value. Using the borrower's interest rate as a knob, they can dynamically tweak it to get the desired utilization rate. The Mars protocol is currently undergoing audits and implementing changes and fixes as reviews progress. There currently isn't a Mars token, so don't be scammed if anyone wants to sell you some. But if I was bullish on the Mars protocol, I would definitely invest in Mars tokens. All things accounted for, there's a lot of anticipation for this project, and being a first mover in the Terra network where the community vets the projects decently well, it should be a good one. The Mars protocol is slated to launch in Q2 of 2022. Next, automated market makers and decentralized exchanges. This is where people swap tokens for one another and where people can provide liquidity so that tokens can be swapped. Examples of this on other chains are like SushiSwap and PancakeSwap. On Terra, the platform with the most total value locked is currently Astroport. It's still relatively new and less than a year old. Astroport almost has $900 million in TVL. It has about 30 pairs of tokens that users are providing liquidity for. Its interface is minimalistic and simple, leaving no room for confusion for the user. There's only a limited amount of things you can do on the web app as of right now, which serves all of its major functions, like swapping, farming, etc. But you can also receive an airdrop of their Astro token if you are a Luna staker or liquidity provider on TerraSwap prior to September 9th of last year. This brings me to the Astro token, which is the native governance token of Astroport. This shouldn't be confused with the AstroSwap token, though. Those are completely different tokens. Users can get Astro tokens in Phase 2 of their launch by bootstrapping the project with UST. I'll leave a link in the description below on how Astroport plans on doing that in Phase 2. Alright, now I've covered savings, insurance, borrowing and lending, and AMMs. The next area is arbitrage, and this one is an interesting one. If you watched the first video in this Terra series, you'll know how important arbitrage is to keeping UST pegged to USD. All arbitrage is buying and selling an asset in different markets in order to profit from small differences in the asset's price. Currently, it seems like large institutions are the ones mainly profiting off of arbitrage and helping to keep the peg. Here is where White Whale comes in. The White Whale protocol is a way for regular retail investors to profit off of arbitrage opportunities with an easy-to-use interface. The way it works is that users will pool together funds to feed the White Whale arbitrage bot. The bot will look for arbitrage opportunities in the market and deploy funds when necessary to make a profit. The profit will be returned back to the users. This works when the market is expanding or contracting. In stable markets, White Whale will deposit the funds into the Anchor protocol to earn interest. Starting with UST, the White Whale protocol will eventually move towards all other stablecoins and also arbitrage M assets on Mirror to keep those pegs as well. Currently, White Whale is still in the developmental stage, and the web app only allows users to look at its treasury balance and swap UST for its native governance token, the Whale token. This is definitely an interesting project to keep an eye on in 2020. Finally, the last project I'm going to talk about is in the realm of yield optimization. If you're familiar with Beefy Finance, this is a similar project but specifically on the Terra network. The project is called Nexus Protocol and currently has about 44 million UST in total value locked. The purpose of yield optimization is to automate farming strategies to maximize yield. The strategies are constantly changing as supply and demand for certain assets are constantly changing. What Nexus Protocol does is automate those strategies for the user and enables higher percentage rate returns than if a user were to do it manually. The protocol simplifies the process, and the user basically does not need to know the underlying strategy to earn a return. Right now, it only has a limited number of options when it comes to depositing assets. It just has 2 vaults for depositing B Luna and B ETH. As for farming, it only has 3 pools for optimization, and those are for providing liquidity for their native Psi token. One exciting development coming for this protocol is their UST Vault. This optimization strategy will allow users to deposit UST, and the protocol will utilize that UST to deploy on the Mirror protocol. On Mirror, an automated delta neutral strategy will be employed to return an APR that is higher than the Anchor protocol benchmark. That sounds complicated, but all that means to users is that they just have to deposit UST, and this strategy will work to earn more than 19 to 20% APR. In the background, Nexus is automating a strategy that users are already manually doing, but with much more efficiency and while monitoring the positions to be as safe as possible. So to conclude, those are some great existing and upcoming projects on the Terra ecosystem in 2022. They span all aspects of an economy from automated market making to insurance to even democratized arbitrage. Which ones are you excited for? Are you going to invest in any of these projects? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and the series, let me know by clicking the like button. As always, stay safe, and thanks for watching.